your birthday today, Bobby. It's your birthday today, Bobby. Rock and roll and celebrate. Celebrate, we will. Lose control and you cut the cake. Cut that the night is yours. Destiny awaits. Oh, wait with so me. Share toast with your closest mates. It's your birthday today, Bobby. It's your birthday today, Bobby. Grab your goodie bags. Open your gifts. Blow out your candles. All right, there you have it. Welcome to week 100, which of course is Bobby's birthday week. That video is a personal favorite. I got it for the first time from my brother John years ago, and it's become kind of a staple in our family for celebrating all birthdays and occasions. But yes, congratulations to us for reaching week 100. Congratulations to me for turning 46 and needing my readers. That started this past year. So I'm currently sitting at what I thought was going to be a very quiet cafe here in Singapore, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, they turned on some really terrible Chinese music. It's Chinese New Year here, and so it's very festive. You'll be walking down the street and a dragon will go by banging drums and making all kinds of noise. So that's where I am right now. I wish I could give you a proof of life, but unfortunately, I'm stuck inside trying to use some cheap Wi-Fi here. All right, who else is out there? I see Gage, I see Mitchell. Oh, as a reminder, as we get started, this call is not for my friends in Texas. In fact, if you are in Texas or a Texan or whatnot, I encourage you to disconnect from this call so that what we talk about cannot be construed or misconstrued as the offering of a security to my friends in Texas, which would be a violation of the current TSSB order. I understand that I'm competing tonight against some pretty big shoes to fill here with the State of the Union. Hopefully you guys are tuned in on that as well in like a little picture-in-picture situation, and doing shots every time. I don't know, what's the popular word these days? Is there a good or a bad word? I don't know. Okay, so Mitchell, Gage, feel free to unmute and unhide yourselves if you want. See, you guys are out there. Say hello if you want. All right, I've got an agenda for tonight's call. Lots to talk about. There you are. Hi, Gage.
I'm here.
Can't turn on my camera
You're
right
here.
now.
I was feeling all lonely for a minute. Normally, I've got a whole room full of besties, but unfortunately, many of my besties are Texans, and so I have to encourage them to get off. But you're not. You're from Lake of the Ozarks area. Is that normally where you hang out?
Yeah, Northwest Missouri, so I am free and clear.
Did I just dox you, by the way?
No, you're all good.
Okay. All right, good. Because I've been doxed quite a few times in the last in the last couple of weeks. I feel like everybody on planet Earth now knows where I live. And I'm not there. Joke's on you. Okay, well, good evening. Thanks for joining me late. I just got off the plane a couple minutes ago, arriving in Singapore from Istanbul. And I've been bouncing all over the place these last couple of weeks, and it hasn't really been a great couple of weeks for me. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But I've been moving around trying to tie up loose ends all over the place. Some will say that I'm on the run. one of the things about the trolls on the internet is that they can say anything they want and there's no consequence to it. You just make stuff up. Like I scroll through TikTok now, like trying to get the latest news on what's happening in the Middle East. And every other video is, okay, the attacks have just commenced, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that seems pretty easy to disprove. Why would people say stuff when it's just blatantly and patently false? But that's what people do. I guess there's entertainment factor, or maybe if they end up getting it right and they were lucky, they get to brag about that. Whatever it is, it's easy to make stuff up. It's hard to do the right thing. But anyway, I've been traveling quite a bit, and the last week for me was really very stressful because I was in the Middle East, and apparently there's a lot of stuff going down right now in the Middle East, and that's not a place you want to be too close to as as world events unravel. So I decided that it was time to move on from there and get down to Singapore, where it's a good place for me in Singapore. I lived here for a long time. I'm very comfortable with the area. It's a very safe area. I know my way around. I've got plenty of things that I can do here to be productive. But I won't feel as lonely and isolated as I did in the last week. I have a couple friends here in town, and so I'm excited to be able to spend some time with them as I continue to get my head together and start putting the pieces back together as well. So that's where I am, and let's see what's on my agenda here. Like I said, it was a tough week for me because I'm guessing it's also been a challenge for you as well, and many of our other fans and supporters out there. Honest money doesn't pivot. Honest money doesn't drastically change direction when something happens. Court order or a partnership or a relationship or a sponsorship or a piece of technology or a server. It's like you got all these normal challenges and complications in the business and entrepreneurial worlds. And what the entrepreneur does is he pivots. Oh, that didn't work out. No problem. We'll just pivot. And I hate the word pivot. Pivot is another way of saying we got it wrong. And now it's time for us to do something probably totally different than what we were doing before. And that's extremely challenging for me for a number of different reasons. Number one is, like I said, honest money doesn't pivot. We set out on a mission. That mission from day one has been honest money for Texas and the world. And so when your home state, kind of sticks a big roadblock up and says, not here, it's weird, man. It's a challenge. And so, that's kind of challenge number one. Honest money doesn't pivot. The original mission of honest money is the reason we're here today. It's the thing that brought us all together. I didn't jump into this because I love network marketing. I didn't jump into it because I fell in love with crypto. I jumped into it because I saw crypto as the right vehicle for carrying forth the torch of honest money. And so, that's always been the mission from day one. And now our job is just going to get a little bit harder to accomplish. That doesn't mean we can't do it, and that doesn't mean it's not important to be successful. It just means that we've got to work around some of the challenges and the constraints that we have today. The second thing that's been difficult for me is everyone's looking at it and they're saying, well, don't we have Iscander? Aren't we like launching Iscander? And of course, the answer is yes, and we are. And Iscander launching in parallel with MineTXC and the work that we were doing with TEXITcoin was one thing. With MineTXC being shut down, it creates a different challenge, but also a different opportunity. And so we've had some technological hurdles to reevaluate and deal with as we get into the next phase, which is Iscander. But here's the problem with that whole thing. The problem with that whole thing is in regards to the story. And the story is what is communicated. The facts, the blockchain specs, the mining locations, all that stuff is one thing, but really the success of the project is based on what we're doing, why we're doing it, the vision, the mission, the strategy, all that stuff that comes together to make up our story. And our story has always been about honest money. And so it's like, okay, well, honest money is kind of on hold right now. Let's pivot, set up another mine somewhere else, and just go out there and sell, cloud mining to the rest of the world where, many places it's wide open and completely doable. And it's like, well, yeah, we can do that, but what's the story? What's the mission? I didn't start this because I wanted to get into crypto. I didn't start it because I wanted to do network marketing. I started it because I wanted to do honest money. And honest money in the US is a really unique opportunity because there's no law in the US that says that we have to pay for goods and services with US dollars. It's one of the many freedoms that we enjoy as Americans. We have the right to choose how we want to exchange, value for value in the marketplace. You would think that if there was a law, it would require us to accept US dollars. And then you walk into a store and it's like, we don't take dollars here, credit, debit only. It's like, oh, okay. Well, that would be opposite of what, you would think the law would be. And so we can barter, we can trade chickens and eggs for horseshoes and beef. We can trade our services. We can use community currencies like there are in existence all over the country right now. And so in America, we have this really great opportunity to do business with each other any way we like. Now, crypto has created a new, high-tech opportunity to do that, but it's just the same as all these other alternative and complementary currencies. And if you remember, that's what I testified about back in US Congress in 2012. And so we've got all these different things. Think about it. When you go into a fair and festival or fair festival and you're paying with tickets, or you go into Chuck E. Cheese and you're paying with tokens. Maybe they don't use tokens anymore. I haven't been there in a few years. But all these are alternative and complementary currencies. When you book a flight or a hotel and you pay for it with reward points, this is an alternative currency. And so alternative currencies live and succeed in the US. I spent a couple days in Dubai. We did a really great big deal with a company over there that's given us some core technology that is integral for the success of our downtown digital and fair money projects. Really, really big step forward. And I was talking to the guy, I'm like, okay, how many of these do you have used, in use around town? He's like, well, not too many because it's, illegal to use Bitcoin as payment in most of Dubai. And maybe I've got that wrong. Maybe they just changed that. I'm not sure. Or maybe they've sandboxed it. But in Thailand, it's the same way. You can't use crypto to pay for like things in a store. It's outlawed. It's banned. And so, it would be, easy to pop up a mine in some other part of the world. But if, going into that part of the world and getting people to use an alternative currency to pay for goods and services in the marketplace is outright illegal, that creates a huge, a huge stumbling block for us. And so, oh no, we're not recording. Geez, good reminder.
Recording in progress.
I think somebody is recording. Somebody usually records, but we're recording now as well. And thank you for the heads up on that. And so, we want to create this Iscander network. We want to have, our network become much larger and much more geographically and geopolitically diversified. And that's all well and good, even if we only have community currencies alive and well in the USA or Texas. Certainly we want to do that kind of stuff all over the planet as well. But the foothold, the success of our work in the US, the model that we can point to as how it's supposed to work, being alive and well and used and valued and working properly is an important part of that successful growth. And so, we need to have this thing working somewhere for the story to also be successful outside of the US as we expand internationally. And so I can't just say, well, never mind the US, we'll just pivot and move on to the international stuff because we don't have the same type of opportunities for us to put down these utility roots. we're building this network for a purpose. The purpose is honest money. How do we get there? Well, we get there through community currencies. We get there through fairs and festivals. We get there through lots of other applications building on our network. And so, we have to do that someplace so that as we expand, what we're doing is not new and different. It's just improving upon the existing implementation and making it more widespread and successful. I do still see fairs and festivals as the great way to do that all over the world. Concerts and music festivals and Oktoberfest and running with the bulls and all those things happen, all over the world. And so, the US is not exclusive to the fair and festival industry. It's big, but it's not the only place where we can be successful in setting up a cashless payment system that uses our networks. And I say our networks plural because we've got two of them now. Anyway, so that's really the challenge. The challenge is finding not just a way to launch this new project, but to find a way to make it meaningful, to find a way to fit it into the existing plan as we, had originally intended, but now we've been thrown a little bit for a loop because of the latest, legal developments on our world. And so that's really been my challenge. My challenge hasn't been like getting myself out of bed and like putting on my shoes and eating breakfast and, being all down in the dumps and depressed. My challenge has been trying to find a way to navigate around kind of the geopolitical tensions that are happening right now. I would really love to be in Dubai at this very moment, working with the development team there to fast track the tech that we're putting together for downtown digital and fair money. That's a top priority right now. But Dubai is right across the street from Iran. And I'm not sure if you've been paying attention or if I've been just getting bad information, but apparently we're coming up on some tense moments. And I hope all that stuff works out, man, because I worry for the world. The last thing we need right now is another war. We've got lots of things to work on. We've got lots of opportunities to improve the quality of life for Americans. I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into the political side of things. That's not ever what this project was about. But I can tell you for sure that that these are uncertain times, and we need time for development. And I don't want to go sit in Dubai, setting up our office over there to get development going, just to find out that right across the whatever that strait is called is the major political tension, unraveling and setting us on a course for wherever it takes us. So that's frustrating. So I'm navigating that. I'm navigating, making sure that we stay in compliance with the current TSSB order. My work right now involves a bunch of different things, including, running the business as best as we can, working through the legal requirements, putting together, facts and evidence that we can use for our case. We'll get into that in a minute. Growing our business with Iscander, and then also making sure that we do a good job communicating what's happening, what we're doing, what our plan is with the public. And so that's really where I'm focusing my time and attention right now as we, we're about 2 weeks deep at this moment on that cease and desist coming out. And so, the first week was just scurrying around trying to find representation. We got that done. The second week, like I said, is now all about trying to figure out how to continue to move forward. We erred on the side of caution by shutting everything down to make sure that nobody could blame us of violating the cease and desist. And now that we're getting more information back, which we'll talk about in a minute, we're coming up with the plans to begin moving forward once again. And so there's a lot that we can do, and we're going to do it. But again, like I said, it all comes down to the story. And I'm excited to demonstrate to our friends in Texas government where they have it all wrong, and they do have it wrong. And as that works itself out, then we're, eager to continue to grow, continue to expand, and continue to do our good work with our friends around the US and around the world, which we'll talk about in a few minutes as well. Okay. So, I don't think you guys can chat with each other. I don't know if we have questions. Are questions live for this call, or do we kill questions? Q&A.
They
No,
are
we
live.
got Q&A.
I'm gonna try to keep up the questions as we go here because we're gonna cover a lot of stuff. Is the hiccups in the mining hash due to Iscander mine? No, we'll cover that in a minute. How about coming back to the States to show people in community you're not running? Maybe. I've had lots of thoughts about that, Ryan, and I'm not sure if you're a miner or not, but remember this call is just for miners and not for Texans. So hopefully you are a miner that is not in Texas. Trying to figure out if I can look you up as I go here. So as you may recall, I was in Hong Kong speaking the next day at a crypto conference, the DAT Summit, when all this stuff dropped. And so it was very coincidental that I was not in the US when this happened. I would say that if it happened when I was in the US and I left, then you could call that running. But since I was already out of the US on planned business, and some people will say, well, you probably knew, you probably had a heads up. No, I didn't have a heads up. But as far as coming back, yeah, I want to because, and we'll talk about why in a few minutes. But I do agree that I think it would show our community good stuff. But I got to get to the point first where I'm 100% sure that this thing is not going to devolve into criminal charges. And, we've had a theory from day one about that. And the theory is let's do the right thing. And we won't ever have to worry about criminal charges. Someday they may accuse us of being a security if they don't understand us. But if we don't lie, we don't cheat, we don't steal, we follow through on our promises, we don't make any performance claims or guarantees, then we can't get in trouble on a criminal basis. And so we're working through the specifics on that right now. And once I have really good clarity on that, then yeah, I will come back to the States. Because we got a lot of important work to do there, and we'll show you that in just a second. But the question comes down to where am I most effective? And like I said, I would really like to be in Dubai right now, getting that office set up for Iscander purposes and also for, tech development purposes. But that's not the right place to be right now. I'm not banned from Dubai, but I wouldn't go there right now just because the whole Middle East is a not a smart place to be at the moment. Happy birthdays. They're planning to get TEXIT value trending north again. Yeah, we'll come to that in a few minutes. So all this going to buy founder seats, and Iscander had already put a request for our seats, just out of luck now. James, I'm not really sure what the answer to that question is. I know that we've got the limitation now on non-US persons, but I think that we're going to get more specific on that as we learn more on the legal stuff. All right, so let's try to keep questions specific to whatever the topics are that we're working through as we go, just so I can try to keep up. All right, so let's talk about legal updates because we have a little bit of bad news. I want to share my screen with you here and show you where we're at on the hearing request. So you saw, I think we talked about the TSSB order last week. We covered that in detail. We went through kind of the specifics on it. We retained Quinn Emanuel as our counsel. I am extremely happy with that. They're expensive. They're not cheap, but they win. And so very happy about that. We've got the guy, Avi, who has been successful with cases in front of the TSSB before. And this is their official response letter. I don't know if this gets filed anywhere, but this is the official response letter that was sent back to TSSB requesting the hearing to modify or set aside the order. And so, one of the things that I've really kind of enjoyed about this legal process is I'm getting an understanding of how the law looks at us. We all know our story. We all know what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it. And we all know what we believe to be the truth. They don't care about the story. The law doesn't really care about the story. Oh, we're really good people with great hearts, and we're, working hard to help create more economic success for small businesses across Texas. No, they don't particularly care about that. A jury might care about that. A judge someday may care about that, but as you get into the facts of the case and the application of the law, it doesn't really care too much about the story. And that's really important because I'm going through and I'm learning about this stuff from a different angle. And so, the path that the attorneys are taking is totally different than the path that I would have taken. In fact, I drafted up a request for hearing letter that's totally different from what the attorneys put together. And so they come at it with, a direct response to the law. As you are aware, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has determined that cryptocurrency mining activities do not involve the offer and sale of securities because there's no expectation of profit, blah, blah, blah. I think that I've already shared this document with our community. This is a public document that you can share. But I'm really happy about where they're going with this. The order's fraud allegations are even weaker. The order does not allege that my clients made even a single false statement to anyone. And again, that's really the important part, guys. That's, we did it a particular way. We knew that at some point the government was going to come down and take a look at what we're doing, how we're doing it. And we said to ourselves, if we do the right thing, if we follow through on our promises, then we won't get in trouble for fraud. And of course, the TSSB alleges fraud. Well, the fraud is in connection with the sale and offer of securities, which we don't think that we're doing. And so what they look at is not that, but it looks at the actual allegations of fraud and the fact that we didn't make a single false statement to anyone. Instead, the order claims that my clients failed to broadcast certain facts, like a decade-old personal bankruptcy. It was actually a corporate bankruptcy, without establishing either my clients had a plausible duty to disclose the admitted facts or that any reasonable person would regard those facts as material. Worse, the order in the TSSB's accompanying press release accused my clients of immediate and irreparable public harm, but there's no allegation about the loss or misappropriation of a single dollar. Yada, 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 yada. And so I'm very happy with the work that these guys have done so far, because what they didn't do is they didn't just take the stuff that I gave them, change the name, put a, letterhead on it and submit it as their own. They took a look at the information that I provided to them, took a look at the law, and put together a response that I think really, more factually and statutorily deals with the actual merits of the accusations in the TSSB's order. And so I'm happy about that. Let's see what else we can get out of that response. Board plays an active, important role in protecting investors in Texas. Unfortunately, in this case, the board got it wrong. My clients are proudly a part of the Texas community and have developed a useful, community-driven, decentralized cryptocurrency ecosystem. Correct. What they have not done is offer or sell any security, and they certainly have not engaged in fraud. So this is the response that triggers the request for a hearing to modify or set aside the order. Let's get to the bad news. When TSSB rules say that we have a right to a hearing within 10 days of our request, I said, all right, let's go. 10 days. Well, the attorneys got back to me and they said, how about June? And I said, what do you mean June? That's insane. 10 days. They said, look, if you want us to lose this case, we can request a hearing inside 10 days and we can lose. And I said, man, why can't we just win inside of 10 days? And he said, look, it goes like this. Right now, the state has all the evidence, all the information. They're prepared. They're ready. We've got nothing. We don't have expert testimony. We don't have evidence. We don't have anything today. And if we rush to get in front of an administrative judge, it's not like a jury. We rush to get in front of a judge and we're not prepared and we lose, you lose, and you lose all the way and forever. And so the worst thing we can do is we can rush this. And what'll happen is, as we start to collect our information and we're in communication with the state, now all of a sudden the scales start to balance a little bit. They've got their evidence, which we're going to get a hold of. And we've got our evidence, which we're going to put together over time. And if we need to find experts to testify about how this thing isn't really an MLM, and we have to find experts to testify how this isn't really a security, we have to find those guys. We have to, get up to speed so that we can put together a good defense to this accusation. And it's going to take time for us to do that. And we think that even June would be rushing it. I said, oh man. He said, well, remember, when we win this thing, and we're confident we can win, everything else goes away. All the other stuff, that the SEC could come after you someday with some different argument, but probably not. You are victorious here in Texas. Texas has got an extremely aggressive state security board. If you're successful here, then you win probably all the battles. And so we want to take our time. We want to win. We want to win not based on a technicality, not based on my name being misspelled or the service address being incorrect, but based on our ability to prove the facts of our case. And that'll happen again in front of an administrative judge. It's not a traditional judge. It's not a like a jury type of hearing. It's a state Office of Administrative Hearings, SOAH, SOAH is what this thing will go in front of. And it's important we do it well. And I hired the best, and every once in a while we're gonna have to take their advice. And we're gonna have to do what they believe to be the best way to handle the case. And so that's kind of bad news because it means that we're going to be on standby until June. And we're waiting right now for the Office of Administrative Hearings to confirm that they have availability in their calendar for June. It may not be June. It may be later than June. And so that's extremely frustrating for me. And again, once I figured that out, that's when it became really apparent that we need to get our plan together to continue moving forward. And so I do have that coming together. I'll share that with you in a few minutes. So that is a setback in the realm of the legal story. Potentially, we've requested it for June. It could be August. It could be July or August. Okay. So let's talk about some good news because we do have some good news along with it. When I first reached out to Quinn Emanuel and sent them over a copy of the TSSB cease and desist order, they were kind of surprised about how short and limited the order was. You look at previous orders issued by the TSSB, they're 80, 90 pages long. Ours is 7. And so they were kind of surprised, and they said, well, let's see what's in their evidence file. And they got it. And they sent a copy to me, and it's confidential. I'm not allowed to share it, but it's thin. It is shockingly and surprisingly thin. Now, there are 2 types of evidence that they will have in this case. The first type is the evidence that they needed in order to go to the judge, the commissioner, I guess, and get the cease and desist order. Then there's the evidence that they may, in fact, produce sometime later at the hearing. And I'm sure that there will be more. But the evidence that they have so far is pretty limited. In fact, it's not really any different than the kind of basic things that you would think, would ruffle feathers and get people to the point where we are now, which I think is really, really good. I think that if they start digging in any deeper, tuning into Zoom calls, going through transcripts of these calls, they'll find out a lot more to the story than they know already from just the, simple clippings that they've got off the internet. And that's basically what's in there. And so we were all kind of pleasantly surprised to see that. And that was what we expected because of how limited the original order was in the first place. But that was a little bit of good news from that discovery. But it is interesting to watch it unfold. When I went through my bankruptcy back with Mulligan Mint in 2013, I got myself like a PhD Harvard level hard knocks lesson in bankruptcy law. And so now I'm getting a little bit of a lesson in securities law and how these things work. So I'm learning. We've got the pros on the task. We're dealing with it. It's going to take time. And so what we're going to need to do, and hopefully as we get more evidence and we communicate that evidence with the TSSB, hopefully we'll be able to get more clarification on exactly what they're grumpy about and how we can potentially modify the way we present to Texans so that we can still, do stuff, whether that's events or meetups or barbecues and live streams, and or sell something like physical hardware. We'll find that out as we dive deeper into this project and get details on that. All right, so we talked a little bit about what the work is right now, running the company, taking care of the obligations that the legal team has, or the request that the legal team has for us to build our case. And that's a little bit of a challenge as well, because like I said, I see it one way, they see it a completely different way. And so, I was real quick to start getting all the evidence together that supports the facts that I think are important, and they're going a totally different direction on their strategy. And I really like their strategy. And I don't want to talk too much about the strategy right now, but what I can tell you for sure is that their strategy comes down to utility. And this is a really important thing because it makes the work that we're doing with Downtown Digital and Fair Money all the more important for us to focus on and deliver. And so we've reached out to TMR, the event June 5th, 6th, that's still on the calendar so far as we know. I'm waiting to hear back from them to get clarification on whether or not there's any change to the sponsorship and our ability to provide the payment service there. So far as I've heard, there's not. And that's really important because that's really utility. And so, there's always that big discussion about security token versus utility token. And, in the past, all these companies came out with their ICOs and they introduced their token. And, they would swear up and down that it's a security token, or sorry, not a security token. It's a utility token. Well, what do I do with it? Well, you can use it to do stuff. Well, what kind of stuff? I don't know. You can just do stuff with it. Okay, that's probably a security token. And so as we make that same argument, well, there are security tokens and there are utility tokens. People say, well, what do you do with it? Well, that's easy for us. This is the thing that drives the Downtown Digital Dollar Program. This is the thing that you need to pay the fees to use Fair Money. And so it's really important now that we follow through with those things because that proves up utility. And it's important that other people develop on our chain as well. More utility equals, less likely to be a security. And so, we're really eager to follow those paths that we've already been on for a long time. We spent more than a year developing the layer 2. Done. We're now developing the tech that makes Downtown Digital and Fair Money easy to use. Acquired the core technology, paid $1 million for it. Now we're integrating that into our systems and business process and user experience that we want. It's an undertaking. And the hope is that we get it all together in time for this event in June to show real and true utility for the TEXITcoin chain, the TXC blockchain, the made in America, built in Texas chain. And so that's a really important thing for us to focus on as we get through these next couple of months. If we have to be quiet in Texas for the next couple of months, so be it. We've got the resources that we need to follow through on utility. A lot of questions popping up right now in the chat group about what's the plan for the price? And if that's your question, I got to push back a little bit because you got to remember that this is a community currency project and it's our obligation to find ways to use this thing to make it valuable. We'll get more into that in just a second, but what that means is that if you're sitting here on this call waiting for somebody else to do something to affect the price, then you're one of the people that is contributing to the case that the state of Texas has. I don't know if that makes any sense. Let me try to clarify it like this. We have a community currency. And we've said from day one that as we set up this thing, the thing that we're doing different from everybody else that's ever done this before is we're not mining Bitcoin. We're mining TEXITcoin. Well, what's TEXITcoin? It's a worthless coin. It's a worthless coin unless we come together as a community to give it value. Well, how do we give it value? We give it value by trading it, by spending it, by accepting it. We give it value by building apps and dApps and tools and utilities that require it for that thing to function. Downtown Digital, Fair Money. I see other things that are built on the layer 2 that we have. But it's up to you to give this thing value. We work together as a community to create the value that this thing has. If we don't work together for it and you're expecting somebody else to do it for you, then you're kind of on the wrong rocket. Coming in and helping build and grow the mine, that's a big part of it. But the usefulness of this thing is really what it comes down to. Whether that means you're helping build the rocket, you're growing the mine, you're doing classes and presenting, you're educating people, you're setting up a table at a fair or festival or at a farmer's market to, share TEXITcoin. You got to do something for this thing to be valuable. If you're sitting here waiting for me to do it, then you've got it all wrong. I'm just the guy that's kind of like, keeping track of the books. And so we all have an obligation to come together as a community to make this thing valuable. And that's really what the work is now. The mine is there, the network is working, it's processing transactions. We want the mine to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And of course, we're going to continue to grow it through Iscander. More on that in a few. But we have to give the coin value. We have to give it value by using it, by building on it. And that's a really important component of our case. And if we're not able to do that successfully and you're just waiting for someone else to create the value for you, you're starting to get into security territory. And so I want to remind everyone that I can't do this alone. I need your help for this thing to be valuable. Very, very important. Okay, so let's move on and share a couple other updates with you. I'm very pleased to let you know that the website, after way too much time, has been updated. I'm very happy with the new content that's on there. Remember, we had a lot of content on help.mindtxt.com. And, if you go on to help.mindtxt.com, let me see if I can pull it up here. Help.mindtxt.com. Share my screen. If you go into help.mindtxt.com, there's a lot of really great articles in here. When you talk about the crypto basics and the TXC basics, understanding our vision, mission, strategy, like this is all really great information, but it's not on our core domain of TEXITcoin.org. And so when you go and you work with AI, is like going out into the, interwebs and trying to find all the information that it thinks is relevant to, the subject that you're searching. And so when it can't find, any good content on the TEXITcoin website, that, creates kind of a void there. And when there's a void, AI's got no choice but to like go out and troll the social media comments to find out what people actually think about TEXITcoin. And so that's been a really big failure for a long time now. And so by having the website updated with some really great content, and there's a lot more content coming in the next day or two, I'll show you what we just got done yesterday. But we've got great content on here now. The other thing that we have is also the updated social media links. You'll notice that Instagram is not there because Instagram says that they have permanently banned our account. Another challenge for us to work through. But you can get to our X and our TikTok pages here, and you can get to the Facebook page as well. It also has a bunch of different markets listed here now, and it also has a bunch of different resources listed now. So this is a big step forward because it's got some good content here finally. And the content is here in this first section as you scroll down. And so 4 key articles really tell the story of what makes TEXITcoin different. And we'll go through them real quick here just so you know what we're communicating these days. First of all is proof of work mining redefined. And this is really what's at the core of what makes TEXITcoin different. Number 1, we're exclusively building the mine here in Texas. And number 2 is we've built it in this format that makes it growing to a point where it's really, really big. It's huge, but it's not too big. This prevents the kind of hyper-centralization and wasteful inefficiency seen in other networks, where a handful of players control the majority of the hash rate while the environment pays the price. And so, this is what makes us different, the way we're doing our mining. So we like proof of work. We like the backbone of trust that proof of work mining creates. And I saw a really great TikTok the other day as well that gave me a whole new concept to chew on in my mind. And Jason, if you're listening, I think you'll really appreciate this as well. But it talks about how crypto, specifically Bitcoin and other, proof of work cryptos, are portable energy. And that's a really cool concept because, people think of gold as being portable land. Land is what makes, land is valuable. And when you take land and you turn it into a little gold coin, you can carry that valuable land with you, that property somewhere else. You can take it to a market, you can take it to a different country, you can move it. So you can kind of capture your value in a gold coin or a gold bar. And so we like to think of gold as being portable land, portable property. Crypto, proof of work crypto, think of this. Chew on this, see if you can develop some sort of, cool article about this. But I heard someone describe proof of work crypto as portable energy. So imagine you've got a hydroelectric dam somewhere in a remote part of the world. There's abundant energy resources all over the world. But very often those energy resources aren't anywhere near, a population, a civilization, a town, a city, a customer base that can use that, monetize it, pay for it. And so what happens is, you look at the cost of transmission lines and it becomes prohibitive to use or to develop that vast energy resource. Well, along comes the proof of work crypto miners like TEXITcoin. And we say, whoa, 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 whoa. Don't develop transmission. Let's just mine it right here. And let's turn it into a Bitcoin or a TEXITcoin or a Litecoin or a Dogecoin or any one of these other, mineable coins. And then we can take that to market somewhere else and sell it and turn it into money, turn it into something valuable, turn it into something else. And so we're taking an energy resource that may be in some, forgotten part of the planet. We're storing it there in a digital asset, and then we're able to bring it to a far off market to monetize it. I thought that was a really cool concept that I'd love to see us develop in greater detail. But that's what proof of work mining is. It's the backbone of trust. It's what we're doing with TXC, but we made it a little bit different. We're only doing it in Texas, and we've capped it. So the participation is still profitable for individuals. And so that tells that story there. And again, goes into some of the detail on what makes TEXITcoin different. Second new page we've got up is currency first network optimization. And this talks about how the Bitcoin bros had this great technology, but unfortunately, somewhere along the way, it got stuck. Bitcoin today is celebrated as digital gold, a store of value for traders, gamblers, and wealthy and institutions. It's great for holding, but it's not great for using it as a currency. And so we talk a little bit about, how Bitcoin got it wrong. And then, the fork that happened in 2017 when Roger split off and started Bitcoin Cash, because he saw the same problem that I saw. No one was actually using it because it was too slow and expensive to use. And so the advantage that we have with TEXITcoin is that by building this network and having control of it, we can improve it as we go. The problem that Bitcoin had was it set this block size at 1 megabyte, and then all of a sudden the miners didn't want to change it. And so, this 1 megabyte block size cap made it so that it could only handle so many transactions per minute or per second. And so we have the ability to improve that as we go because we control the network. So as we get into like why we started over with a layer one, we realized that we've got a big job to do. Layer one is hard work. We have to create block explorers, mempools, secure wallets, exchange integrations, developer tools, APIs, all that stuff. And we've built that over the last 2 years now extremely well. We've got a whole portfolio now of tools that anybody can use to build on our network. And so we're ready to adapt. As this thing gets bigger and more valuable, we may have to change it down the road to keep it focused as a currency first coin. And that's what we have with our layer one. So that's the second article I want to bring to your attention. But this is what I was talking about a few moments ago, community driven value. At its heart, any true currency is a promise, a mutual agreement between traders that the medium of exchange today will be willingly accepted back tomorrow for goods, services, or value. It's what gives a community currency its value. We talk a little bit here about Metcalfe effect, how every new person that joins our community and helps keep that promise grows the size of our network exponentially. Double the participants, the value doesn't just double, it quadruples. And so what we're doing here is we're going back to Bitcoin's early days when it was all about the community participation, setting up events at tables, handing out packets. That's what we have with TEXITcoin. So we're really picking up where they left off. And so these are the first two initiatives that we have here, the Downtown Digital Dollars program for community currency and the Fair Money program for cashless payments at fairs and festivals. So these are the two initiatives that we're spearheading to help give this thing value and usability and utility in the marketplace. But ultimately, the question is, how are you participating to help us keep this promise? Currencies only thrive when the people using them believe in the promise. Fiat breaks with endless printing. Speculative coins break it by forgetting trade. TXIT keeps it sacred. Cap supply, community mining, real-world tools, unwavering focus on usability. Value doesn't come from white papers or hype. It comes from you. From traders shaking hands or tapping wallets, from merchants saying yes to TXC, from communities choosing honest money over broken systems. Really important stuff there, guys. I've been saying it for a long time. It's up to us to determine the value. If you're waiting for somebody else to do it for you, you're on the wrong rocket ship. Let's keep going with the fourth and final new article that we've got here, which talks about me. Leadership. I think this is the other missing piece from the cryptocurrency conversation. Crypto promised freedom, decentralized money, no banks, no overlords. But without a strong, principled leadership, it drifts into speculation, centralization, and capture by the very institutions that it was meant to escape. Roger was the guy back in the day. He's out. And so let's take a quick look at our proven track record since 2008. Open currency standard, testified before conference, Bitcoin, physical and digital, TEXITcoin. And there's me. When leadership mattered, Bobby steps up. Trust is earned. If you think Bobby's earned it, join the adventure. And so again, guys, it's a bold question. Do you think do you think that we as a team have done enough over the last 18 years now to prove that we actually care about honest money, that the mission is honest money in digital crypto form? That's what we've got. And so those are the four new articles that I'm really happy with on the website. And we've got more coming soon. You can see our Figma file here, which is where we're developing these blog articles. I've got like 15 different blog articles that we're publishing. We're just getting the layouts set up for them right now. And then we'll have a whole blog section on the website that shares these articles. And again, the point of all this is to put good quality information on TEXITcoin.org where it's never been in the past. So that the AI engines out there and the trolls out there can find information that's relevant to our project and incorporate that into their narrative. And so it doesn't turn the tide overnight, but it does give those bots something to work with besides just the trash that's being spewed all over social media these days. So keep an eye out for more updates coming soon to the website. Okay. So let's talk about, a couple other things. We're under attack right now. I don't know how many of you have noticed, but we are under attack. Share my screen with you here and show you what's going on. This is the TEXITcoin blockchain. And unfortunately, if you go back and you look at the block history, you see blocks being produced. And we got a couple different issues here we're going to talk about. But every time a new block is produced, it should pay out to this address, this GVR address. And so this is the system wallet that every block is supposed to get paid out to. So we've got, this mining network where all the blocks get paid out directly to the miners in our community, and then distributed proportionally based on the hash power that you've accumulated. And so this is where every single block is supposed to pay out to. And then what you see happen at the end of the day is that the system, distributes those rewards that, whatever the system mined that day, like I said, proportionally out to the community. And so you can see those transactions taking place real time. And this is what they look like. And so what we noticed started happening like about a week ago, I guess. I could check the exact date. What we noticed is that some of these blocks started going to a different address. Not a lot, like we saw happen back May 15th, 2024, but enough for us to go, hey, wait a minute, that's not supposed to happen at all. And so what it means is that somebody has figured out how to bypass the security of our permissioned mining and built themselves a back door. And so it's a problem. It's actually a really big problem that's consumed our developers' attention these last couple of days. I'm trying to find a block in here to show you what it looks like. I guess I can show you a different way. If I go back, I can look at the address that's actually taking those blocks, and you can see this one right here, new coins produced by the mine, getting paid out to this address that is not ours. This address is not our address. We don't know whose address it is, but it's not ours. And unfortunately, there's really not anything we can do about it because we don't control wallets. Plenty of people will accuse us of having ultimate control over it, but the reality is that we don't control it. And so we're watching these transactions stack up in this wallet. And so I went through and I added up how many coins are in this wallet. Let's do it together here. 3, 5, 5, 6. Well, let's do it in blocks. So what I'm looking at is the amount of coins that have actually been withdrawn from this wallet. And so let's just work on those. 1524 plus 2794 plus 8382 plus why is it not showing me 100? I want 100. Let's go back and try to get it to show us 100 at a time. 75, 100. Okay. So what do we have? We had 8382 was the last one, and then 3810. 3810 plus 6858 plus, on page 1, 5588 plus 2540. And that is it. Equals 31,496. So 31,496 coins have been mined outside of our pool. So let's talk about kind of the issue first and foremost. Number one, everything in the realm of digital is always a cat and mouse game. You develop a system to keep something safe. The hackers are out there trying to figure out a way to bypass your system. It's nonstop. That's digital risk for you. That's why we made cold storage coins, because they give you the ability to take your crypto and lock it up in your safe where it's outside of the accessibility of hacking. But when you've got systems that are online, they're always under fire. And so, we've got a real system. It's got a real market cap. It's got real trading volume. And so, we're a target. And so, we set up a system back early June 2024 to deal with this issue. Somebody found kind of an unlocked door that we didn't even think to lock when we went live on DexTrade back in May of 2024. We had to shut the network down for like 3 weeks while we figured out a way to protect ourselves and fix it. We did that. And what we did was we built a security key into the different nodes that are able to accept mining blocks from miners. And so we distributed this to the participating exchanges and all the different guys out there that had to have access to, kind of that level. Well, those exchanges get creative and they start reverse engineering stuff. And, I don't know how long they've been working on it, but maybe it took them a while to figure out how to get around the security system we put in place. And so they're not throwing a lot of mining power at it, but they're throwing enough mining power at it to compete with our network. And over the last, what do we say? Over the last, 7 days, pick up, some chunk, a good chunk, 35,000 coins. Is that what we said? 31,000 coins. Now, 31,000 over, 85,000 coins a day times 7, 31 over 595 is 5%. It's a big chunk. And so we've got to fix now on how we're going to deal with it. And again, it's just one of those things that we've got to do, and we've got to stay vigil, stay vigil, and keep an eye out for it. And if somebody figures out a way to get around our new security protocol, then we build another one. But one of the things that I want you to understand is that this is a problem that we're going to deal with, and I'm going to buy those missing coins now off the open market to replenish them back to the wallet that they should have gone to. All right. So I'm going to go over to DexTrade here. I just put a little bit of deposit on. Did my deposit make it to DexTrade yet? Let's see if my deposit reached DexTrade. Looks like it is there, 10,217 bucks. So let's go over and buy. So what I'm going to buy right now, and you guys can keep track of it for me, is I'm going to buy all the coins back to just that have been withdrawn from that wallet. Okay, so to the latest withdrawal, and again, we're looking at it here. So 2540, if we can go all the way back to the beginning and we can say, all right, we've got this most recent withdrawal of 1524. Yeah, there's still 3,500 coins in that wallet, but we're going to track this not by timestamp, but by actual withdrawal until we get it fixed. And so the total amount of coins that I need to buy to replace that is 31,496. Let's go into DexTrade and see what would happen if I wanted to buy 31,496. That would drive the price up quite a bit. 31, it would drive the price up to 52 cents on DexTrade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a purchase on here to kind of keep the market about where it is now. Let's say we go up to 30 cents. So I can buy 16,000 coins to take it up to 27 cents. So let's do that. Let's do a market buy. Where's my market buy button? Has it been that long? Oh, there they are, hiding down there. So we're going to do a market buy up to, let's buy 16,000 TXC. There we go. So now we've got 16. We're about halfway there. And it looks like we could buy another 15,000. So I bought 16,000. I need to buy minus 16,000. Need to buy another 15,496. So let's buy another 15,496. Let's buy that. And that'll give us all of the TXC that we need to replenish what was taken from the reward wallet that pays out to the mining community. So now I can do a withdraw here. And I will do a withdraw to the wallet it's supposed to go to, which is that GVR wallet. There it is. So let's grab that wallet and go back to DexTrade. And do I need to have, got to add a new address here to the address book. No problem. Currency, TXC. Address label is TXC rewards. While I'm doing this, you guys, Gage, Mitchell, anything to add? Anything new and exciting? Nothing? All right. See if we can do a withdrawal now. TEXITcoin withdraw.
We're here just going through the
So
questions.
lead developer is saying probably 3 or so days to finish the fix that we need. 31,496. There we go. Withdraw that 31,496. Have to put in some codes here. 898886869. Firm. Email verification code. What is our email verification code? 618-575. Okay. That is done. So keep an eye out for that going into our main reward wallet. That way the main reward wallet has sufficient TXC to pay out the accurate reward. Regardless of this problem, again, guys, things like this suck. You're always going to get upfront information from me. The trolls out there will be so excited to say that they found another hack. But we deal with it and we deal with it together. Okay, so that's done. And so we got a couple other things as well to share with you guys. We are still working on debugging network issues, and we're using right now Iscander network, the new network that we set up for Iscander to help us kind of figure out what's going on. And so I can't go any further back on this Hashrate Explorer chart, but what I can tell you is that when we started mining Iscander, we started with a single DG Home 1 that was running at 2.1 gigahash. And the problem is that, it was only kind of really reporting like running at 1 gigahash. And I said, well, that's not right. The machine's running at 2.1. The network should be running at 2.1. It's easy math. One machine mining should only be 2.1. That's it. And so by having the second network set up, we were able to isolate a problem where there was a disconnect from the mining pool, kicking out the miner after about every minute and a half of mining. And so if it didn't hear anything from the miner, it kicked the miner out. And so we found that problem. We went through and we changed the settings in the mining pool and it went away and we fixed it, which was really great because our network performance jumped and it went up to 2.1, which is exactly where it was supposed to be. Well, then we added in one of our L9s. We took an L9 and we added in. Now the L9 is supposed to run at 16.5 gigahash. Well, 16.5 plus 2.1 is 18.6. And so we've been monitoring the network here and we're looking at this and saying, okay, if we've got 18.6, 2 miners plugged in, why are we running at 9.5 or 11.4 or 12.2? Like, why is it that we're not getting the same consistency out of it? Okay, well, we found out that there's a problem. And you can look at TEXITcoin and you can see kind of the same issue because right now, at this very moment, we've got 400 machines plugged in Conroe. We've got 48 in Mansfield, and we've got 24 in McKinney. And so we've got 472 L9s, give or take, some of them turn off from time to time. But we've got 472 machines running at 16,500 megahash. So if we multiply that out, the network should be running right now at 7.78 million. Getting a call from Ruben. Stop calling. Let's see if I can quit Telegram. Okay, so we know that the network should be running at 7.78. And so by having Iscander set up, we're able to begin isolating and debugging whatever the problem is that's causing the disconnect between the L9s now and our pool. And so what we're ultimately looking for is a solid like 7.78 gigahash out of the network, and consistent blocks. And so if we go to the mempool and we look at the block production time, it's all over the place. Sometimes it's every, 20, 30 seconds. Sometimes it takes 10, 12 minutes for a block to come out. And so I'm confident now that we've been able to isolate this, we're going to see much better performance out of the network and more consistent blocks coming out of the network as well. But we're able to figure this out because of the isolation that we did on Iscander. And so that was a important thing for us to talk about as well. All right, what else is on my list for today? Let's see what else I've got. Okay, so what are we doing? First of all, we are working our way out of our holding pattern. Like I said, we are getting clarity from the attorneys on what we can do and what we can't do, where we can and can't do it. But ultimately, the mission is honest money. And so the focus today for us administratively is developing downtown digital and fair money. Very important, both in terms of the legal side of things, very important in terms of follow through and usefulness as far as our mission is concerned, and also very important in terms of utility and usability on our network, because that's what ultimately is directly related to the price of TXC on the open market. So the people out there that are saying, what are you doing about the price? Remember, number one, what are you doing about the price? We have to work together on this. It's a community currency. Number two, the answer that I gave you to that question several weeks and or months ago now, is utility, downtown digital. That's my focus. And that's better than influencers. Could we go out right now and hire influencers and drop our pants and pump? Sure. But that takes our time, focus, and resources away from the long-term goal, which is the community currency. That's the thing that doesn't have to pump for the value to continue to go up. As people need TXC to pay the gas fees to interact with the network, that creates real demand and real utility for TXC, and that's a long-term improvement in the price. You saw how quickly, just a couple dollars of action in the market moved the price. Well, imagine if we had hundreds of thousands of people at events all across the state or the country every weekend using TXC, that would create an insane amount of buying pressure. And that's ultimately what we have to do for legal reasons, for follow-through reasons, and also for price reasons. And so that's the focus today for me. What should you do today? Well, if you're in Texas, you're going to have to start looking out for fairs and festivals for us. As the tech progresses, we'll be ready to start engaging more conversations with other events. The more of those we can get on the calendar, the more we can do, the faster we can get this thing moving back in the right direction. And so we'll let you know when we have something ready to demo. And as soon as we have something ready to demo, we're looking to sign up events with this solution. So that's what you can do in Texas. What can you do around the world? Well, because we had to discontinue Mine TXC based on the cease and desist, we're switching up Iscander a little bit so that Iscander is going to give you the ability to also sell TXC packages if you're outside of Texas and or the United States. We're getting clarity on the US thing soon. But that's a really important thing because we've got a lot of traction overseas, and crypto is not regarded the same way it's regarded in America and many, many other places. Some places it is, some places it's outright illegal. We have to steer clear of those places. But in other places, it's much more wide open. I won't say wider open, but it's much more accessible. Either, they've got sandboxes or they've got specific legal classifications for cloud mining. And so we want to operate inside the law, but we want to continue to grow and build internationally. And the story that we're going to have is we're going to ask our international friends to continue to help us build and grow the Texas mine first. We're going to build and grow a mine for them as well. That's what Iscander does with specifically the second coin and the third, fourth, and fifth ones that are coming down the pike as well. But that's the story. That's what we're going to ask our international friends to do, to continue to help us build and grow and earn some commissions along the way as they do that. And I will be here in Singapore for the next couple of days, getting all those loose ends tied up so that I can jump on a plane, head down to Australia, connect with our Australian teams and connect with our New Zealand teams to get them fired back up and moving in that successful direction of honest money. And so that's what I'm going to be working on over the next couple of days, getting ourselves ready to completely launch Iscander, giving our teams the ability to sell both mining packages out of there and do it within the structure of the law so that we don't get ourselves into any more issues on the regulatory side. Okay, I think that's it for my call tonight. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and the State of the Union. My wife says she's not on the call. That's right, Texan. Let's see if we can take some questions real quick. Any questions coming through that you guys see?
The biggest one is about Iscander back office. Do we have an update on that?
Well, we were building a brand new back office for it, and now we're repurposing the MineTXE back office since that's no longer in operation. And so we were kind of done on the Iscander version, and then we switched it up. Again, this is all rapidly developing and evolving, taking into consideration what we're learning as we go, to make sure that we can do it really well inside of the constraints that we have today. And so I think we'll have something on that before the end of this week. As soon as we have that, then we start running out the rewards, calculating the rewards and calculating commissions back to when this project began. So keep an eye out for that in the next couple of days.
Perfect.
Let's see. What are other people? Casper says it's not a complaint, just an observation. So please don't graduate me. When power on the internet goes out, we get a text or email from them to let us know. We do the same thing. If the mine stops mining. There's a problem with reporting. Yeah, we've got a notification group. I'm wondering maybe if I can get a bot set up to also share network alerts with our main group. Oh, about the main group as well. A bunch of things are changing. Glad I'm remembering them last minute here. Number one, if you're using the desktop wallet, the Windows PC desktop wallet, we are going to depreciate that, decapitate that, deprecate. What's the word when you like turn something off?
Graduate it.
Deprecated. We are turning that off. I don't know how to say it. DEPRECA, deprecate. Deprecate? How's that sound? We're deprecating the Windows wallet. So if you're using the Windows wallet, please transition off of there to the web wallet, which works fantastically, or to the mobile app TXE wallet. Two is, what was the second network thing I was going to tell you guys about? I don't remember. Come back to me. Yeah, I'm going to try to get a bot to send network alerts into the group chat so that you guys can see if the network is struggling. Are we on track for June McKinney Downtown Digidollar? So far as I know, that event is still on the calendar. As far as being on track for it, I think so. Remember, we bought some really great core tech. We're buying the hardware that goes along with it right now. I'm very, very hopeful. We kind of need it. So I'm hopeful. Justin wants to know, my question is, what happens if this drags out 3 or 4 years? Do we have enough capital to withstand that? That's an interesting question. So first of all, we got to get ourselves to this June, July, August date range so that we have a hearing. If we win that one, we're in the clear. If we lose that one, yeah, we are going to have to file suit against the TSSB. Then that's when we get like a real trial, and the actual trial that we'll have in front of the office administrative judge is like 4 days, I think. We've got 2 days and they've got 2 days. And so if we're successful there, we're good to go. If we're not, then yeah, it could take 3 or 4 years for us to go through this. Do we have enough capital to get through there? We do. But the question then is like, well, what's the point? if we're going to be seriously limited in what we can do, then we're going to have to focus exclusively on, utility. And that's kind of where we are today in Texas as it is. So it's like, okay, well, win or lose, we built the network. It's big enough, and we've got to follow through on, putting the next 4 containers into service and getting the next 800 miners into the soup. So like, we're going to do that. We're going to continue to work through downtown digital. We're getting that set up as a money service business. We're doing the community currencies, the fair money stuff. So like, we have capital to do all that stuff. And so if we exclusively had to focus on that for the next couple of years, it would be very frustrating for people that are trying to earn commission by, growing the rocket. But there's plenty of work that can be done, and there's plenty of profitable work that can be done that's going to help, both our cash flow and also the value of TXC on the market. So, yeah, we do, but we'd have to figure out what the scope of work is going to be. Is support offline? I don't think they are. I think that they went back into the office today. I don't know how backed up they are. Commit all your ways unto the Lord, and he will direct you in your path. The race is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Seek wise counsel. That's what you have done. Thank you. I think we've got some pretty good counsel. No incoming sales income. Will mines be able to run that long without any new revenue coming in? Yeah, of course. Remember, we're merge mining to help pay the electric bill. We don't pay all of it with that, but it's a good chunk. I think that if we get this mine hash rate bug worked out, I think that it might actually cover the whole thing, which was always the plan. We can't add mining seed was the set of the gift cards. Hold the gift cards because, again, we're going to open things up as soon as the back end is completed. Does a true utility token even exist yet, or would TEXIT be the first? Well, here's a really interesting thing about that. And this is kind of part of something I was thinking about and talking about the other day. Bitcoin is not regarded today as a security, right? You can buy it, trade it, whatever. But there's really no utility for Bitcoin. So you think that it would be thought of as a security. Whereas Ethereum is a huge utility coin. People build video games, they build casinos, they build, predictive markets, they build apps and dApps and government tokens and NFTs and digital collectibles. They build all kinds of stuff on Ethereum and Cardano and Solana. And yet the government loves to think of Ethereum as more of a security than Bitcoin. But it's clear that there's so much more utility for Ethereum than there is for Bitcoin. So why would that distinction happen that way? And I think the answer to that question is that the government looks not at the purpose of Ethereum as gas utility, but what people are trading on that network, which is mostly securities. And so, I think Ethereum is really a utility token that would be kind of a true utility token. But I also see TEXITcoin that same way. A lot of us that want this to be successful, can we make a Zoom or training videos to teach us how, when, why to make layer 2 to support the layer 1? I feel there are people that can make an L2, just don't know they are in a position to use a layer 2. Yeah, that's a really great question, Stephen. Thanks for that. I will put some thought into it and see if we can come up with, a training strategy on where and how to use it. Really the easiest answer to that question is look at everything that's built on Ethereum. Not all of those things can be built on TXC, but many of them can. And so NFTs. But again, like, what's the point of NFTs? So what we have to do is we have to look for things that are running on other networks that could also run in parallel on TXC, or, competitive versions could run in parallel on TXC. Think about Beavis, for example, blockchain-enabled verification information service. I made that with our developers back in 2018 to give people some insight into the cold storage coins that we manufacture. And it publishes its records to the blockchain using TXC. Perfect example of utility. It's not a security. It's not a security at all. It's a digital blockchain notary that uses the TXC blockchain to record its data. So that's a really great example of pure utility, something that couldn't even be misconstrued as a security. We talked about virtue coins a couple months ago or weeks ago. I guess it was months ago, week 93. That was our marathon week. And how you could use virtue coins as, like, money to give your kids for doing chores and, their weekly allowance. Well, is that a security? I don't know. If you want to build a, token for your family, weekly allowance on TXC, that's a great idea. But some could argue that that's a security. And so watch out for that. But start to think about what other entities are doing on other chains that could also be done on TXC. Benjamin says, this is directly from the welcome email we all got. You've all got your seat on the rocket ship. Now you can simply sit back and enjoy the ride. There's a lot more that you can do, but everything else from here on out is optional. Correct. Are you asking us to not sit back now? FYI, I've been buying, selling since I got in August last year. Just want to know what you're asking of us while we wait and how we can support. It's a really good question because, look, that's kind of the stuff that's at the heart of the legal matter. And that was mentioned specifically inside of the cease and desist, us telling people, just sit back, we've got it. And so the first thing to consider is that the goal of building and growing the mine is the first thing that we're doing to make this thing big enough to be relevant and usable. And so that is really where the adventure begins for you. I want you to take a look at section 13 of the mission control manual that goes out to every new miner. Section 13 says this isn't a passive endeavor. TXC thrives on your participation. Grow the community by sharing the mission and bringing others on board. Use TXC to unlock its potential as a functional currency. Build your team and earn rewards while contributing to the ecosystem's growth, right? So there is something in there specifically saying that we need your help. And we've been talking about the things that you can do on this call for a very, very long time. And so you're right. You're right that it does say that in an email, and that's exactly what the government's looking at. They're saying, just put your money in, somebody else is going to take care of all of it for you. I think that that's misleading. That statement in the welcome email, which obviously needs to be removed and corrected. But we've been talking about on these calls for a long time now about how I can't do all this stuff for us. We look at the numbers. We look at how many unique miners we have in our community. We look at how many people have brought somebody on board. We look at how many people have to go through and do work in order to actually make the participation valuable. So there are a lot of components there that make it so that you don't just get a daily deposit in your bank account. There's a lot of work you have to do in order for your TXC that you mine every day to be valuable. And so, whether or not that's enough to kind of offset that whole issue that the government brings up, we'll have to find out in court. But there are plenty of things that you can do and we want you to do in order to help create utility and value for TXC. What is our PR company doing to lift the good TEXIT branding now? They've published a really great document. I'll find out from the attorneys if I'm allowed to share it. But we'll give you specifics on that. In the meantime, they're publishing articles right now. For example, they just published, I'm going back into Telegram. Just published on cryptonews.net, an editorial. Go ahead and pull it up here. See if I can share my screen. So we've got, I think this is our fourth article right now that's published to crypto news outlets. And so again, guys, getting these types of articles with our positions published in places that AI can find them, scan them, pick them up, or other news and media outlets can see them, is important. And it doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen overnight. We've got to publish dozens of things before we're going to start getting, some traction with mainstream news outlets. So it's an effort. It's going to take some time. All right. I saw where California passed a law that all cryptocurrency is sold traded has to be registered as secure in California before the end of 2026. I know we have community in California. Have you heard of this? No, I have not heard of that, but I'll ask our legal team to follow up. No, another guy. I don't think the hacking is coming from home miners. I think it's somebody that's specifically reverse engineered our software. How many seats have been sold since last Thursday for Iscander? I don't know. How is the point of sale project progressing? Slow. We're placing orders now for hardware and for the cards. But we don't have a functional version of it yet on TXC chain. Who do we contact for downtown digital opportunities? I have a few ideas. Lauren and Pierre right now are heading up that initiative. As I'm getting settled in and buckled down, I'm going to be spending more time with them. We're going to set up a form on the website to collect that information. And let's take a look at those websites real quick because they're looking spectacularly. Share my screen here. That is not the screen I want to share. Hold on. I switched over to a Mac and I'm not really sure yet how to actually use it. But the battery is fantastic, phenomenal. That's why I switched. So here is the Fair Money website. And we'll have a form on this to capture event information. So if you've got an event specifically that could benefit from the Fair Money cashless payment system, then I would say drop the event information in here with your contact info so we know who's helping us put that together. But that's in addition to the Downtown Digital. That's not the right website. Let's see if we can find downtowndigitaldollars.com. I don't know why I have that defaulting in there. And then same thing for Downtown Digital. So this site is now set up, coming together, lots more content to go here. But if you've got a city, town that could benefit from the community currency aspect, let's get that landed in here, and then we will start to follow up on those things as well as the tech comes together. No, you should be looking for fairs and festivals everywhere. Timeline for coins 3, 4, and 5. That's a really great question. Is this Bobby's last call? No, it's not my last call. It's our last Mine TXC call. We said week 100 was going to be the end of the Mine TXC calls. I will have other calls that I schedule, but they're not going to be on exactly Tuesday night at 6 o'clock because I'm not really sure where in the world I'm going to be. Right now I'm in Singapore and it is 11:30 a.m. I guess that makes it 9:30 p.m. for you Central. Is that right? Or is it 10:30? Getting me? Dallas, 9:30 in Dallas. No, many more calls coming our way. So we might be able to sell TXC and ISK in the US as long as we're not in TXC. Yeah, look, we've got, one of the things that's happened now is that we've been informed. We've got legal counsel. And so now we have to seek their counsel so that we can do this anywhere and everywhere legally. There are two parts to that. One is where can we do it the way we're doing it now? And then the second part is how can we modify it to be compliant in a particular area? And so we're exploring both of those questions at this very moment. No ETA yet on US citizens, but look for clarity on that by the end of this week. Can you build in Canada? I think so. Check your Canadian laws on network marketing and check them on cloud mining crypto. Is that the QT core? Yes, Andrea, you are the queen of the QT core. It's time to switch over to the web wallet. Very easy to use. I haven't been able to buy Iscander. The site won't let me in. How are the rewards being paid out? They're not being paid out yet. And when will those wallets be turned off? I don't know. Sometime soon. A couple days. Anything we can do outside of Texas to promote Downtown Digital, something that is coming to chambers or festivals. More information on Downtown Digital is coming soon. So although the mining is paused, the utility isn't. The mining packages are paused. The utility is full speed ahead. In fact, that's really where we need to focus our attention. And we've got lots of resources to build that out. Are you still paying Brig? Being TXC sales are closed. I was never paying Brig. I think L2 could work really well in Australia and festivals and events here. Yes, I'm heading there next week. Let's get connected. I'll be in Perth early next week and then Sydney in the eastern part of the country. Later that week or that following week. Hi, Bobby. Can I check if March 2nd is still the cutoff date to get into Iscander to remain in the same position? I'm not sure. with us bringing over the whole Mine TXC back office, that's going to give us, more flexibility. But we did say that March 2nd was going to be the cutoff date, for keeping the same structure. Can we use TXC to sign up and support Iscander? Coin price. Live coin price is where we're at today. You can certainly use TXC and it's encouraged, but we're doing it at live market price. As far as you know, is there any other crypto project trying to accomplish what DDD is? No. Nobody else seems to care about the money side of crypto. I care. There's been a lot of great positive activity on X. Yes, we are working hard on X. Are you coming to New Zealand after Australia? Yes, I am. Get excited. That's it for questions, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying the State of the Union. Hopefully, the world has not gone into World War III yet. I hope many things for us. I hope that we get more clarity on the legal stuff. I hope that we launch Iscander very, very soon, compliantly and correctly, so that we can, avoid future potholes. But a lot's coming, guys. I'm still here, still working hard for our success. And I hope you are too. Remember, it's not a passive endeavor. It's one of the things that we're learning. We're learning that you've got to participate for this thing to be valuable. We're learning that you got to participate for it to not be a security. Your participation counts. And so as we get clarity on these things, we'll continue to improve our language and communication and set the expectations properly so that we steer clear of trouble now and in the future as well. I think that's it for us for today. I will be checking in my hotel soon. How long until Iscander? We're looking for late April, early May for Iscander on an exchange. Can the use be so simple that everyone can enjoy the benefits of using cryptocurrency? Look, we don't know. I don't see us as being a security. I see us as being a community currency. Doesn't work unless the community participates, and many of you have. Not all of you, but many of you have. If you're not interested in participating, just go buy a handful of TXC. That's the easiest way. Mining packages are for people that want to help us build and grow and get to our goals. As we learn more about the regulatory requirements, which are always changing. What we say today might have to change in the future. We are playing a cat and mouse game with, tech and hackers. We're playing a cat and mouse game with regulatory stuff. It's always changing, guys. And so we need to adapt and we need to ultimately be successful. Well, I can stay out of jail and not get killed. Certainly my preference. Live a happy, long, healthy life with my family in Texas, where they are. And I miss them. Miss you guys. I miss connecting with you guys in person. But I think the end is not too far off. I think that as we get our positions clarified about, the reality of what we're doing, the honesty and integrity that we've built into what we're doing, I think that that'll shine loud and clear. And, we'll work through the securities allegations and we'll completely avoid the fraud stuff. That's important to keep me working hard for our mutual success. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Enjoy your Tuesday night, and I'll catch you guys again soon.